What is going on, guys? Horizon here, and in today's video we'll be discussing how you can play against one of the most annoying playstyles in Rocket League, and that is the demo heavy playstyle. Now, realistically, we're not gonna run into teams that go for demos over and over and over again all that often, but what we're going to be looking at here today is a league match where our opponents pretty much made that their entire playstyle. And when you have a team that is not only dedicated to it, but does it in an organized fashion, it can make things very, very difficult for you. So today, not only will we be discussing how you can avoid demos more effectively, but we'll be showcasing how the skills required to do so can also help in your overall gameplay. So when it comes to avoiding demos, there are two things that we need to be able to do. Number one, we need to be extremely aware of what is going on. This is because we need to have an understanding of where the other players are on the field at all times. If at any point there are only two opponents in our field of view, that means that that third player could very easily be attempting to demo us. And the second thing that we need to do is we need to be able to manage our pace of movement. This is because the speed at which we move around the field dictates where exactly our car is going to be, obviously. But if we're moving too fast and end up getting somewhere before we need to be there, we can often be just sat flat-footed, not moving at all. Which, if we ever find ourselves in that kind of position, it is very easy to take us off the field because we have no momentum to attempt to actually get out of the way. So if we can ensure that we are moving around the field exactly as we need to allow ourselves to be effective, while also being aware of where everybody else is, it can help us to avoid panic situations as often as possible. So with these ideas understood, let's go ahead and jump right on into this game and see where we might be going wrong with the ideas that we're talking about. So, rotating on back right here, you can already see that we are not moving very quickly, and it's because we are just getting too close to this ball, thinking that we should be the ones moving on in for it, when in reality, our teammate has it covered. So as soon as our teammate jumps off the wall here and goes for this ball, we need to make sure that we don't creep up the field too far, because the further we move up the field, the more likely it is that we're gonna have to slow down. And when we slow down in the midfield, once again, it makes it very easy for these opponents to look for opportunities for these bumps because we're just sat still doing nothing. So instead, if we had just slowed down now and stayed a little bit behind this play, we would now be able to see this bump coming ahead of time and we would not get caught up in this. So now, instead of not only our teammate getting demoed, but then us getting bumped as well, we would now be able to react to this and could now go challenge the ball ourselves. And looking at this, we would actually have a very good chance to put this ball on target because of the position of the last player back. But instead, we get bumped as well, and now we completely lose any opportunity to challenge this ball, and it just ends up going for free to our opponents, therefore leaving us in a very awkward spot. So not a great start. And another thing that you'll see pretty consistently is when you're dodging bumps and not aware of what's going on, you're going to use boost a lot more often, and you're not going to be able to path as effectively as you might like, which is again another part of that whole idea of panic. So we'll often see us on very low boost throughout this game as well, but just like that, we're already down 1-0, which is, a fantastic thing. And just like that, we're going to be down by 2, actually, as we get bumped out of the middle of the net. And again, this is all about pace of our movement. So if we pause it right here, we can clearly see that Jeffy here is going to be grabbing this corner and is going to be going up the backboard, going to be challenged by our teammate CJ. Now, if we want to make sure we're in the most effective spot possible, we need to put ourselves in a spot that allows us to cover as many options of our opponent as we possibly can. But instead of making sure we have all of our bases covered, we're going to drive directly into the middle of the net. Now, what this kind of movement does is, number one, it requires us to take a much sharper turn to face out towards the ball, normally killing a lot of our momentum in the process. And number two, it only allows us to cover the front half of the net, because if we're sat on the goal line facing this way, we can only really cover this end. Anything that goes over our head to the back post is completely free. So to avoid these issues, all we need to do here is recognize that there's really not a whole lot of danger in this initial touch. Because realistically, the only thing Jeffy can do is either blast this ball across the field or blast it up. And if we want to give ourselves the best chance to cover any of those options, we need to make sure that we have momentum going so that we can actively challenge the ball when the opportunity presents itself. So right here, if we just recognize, okay, 50-50 coming out, let's just keep going a little bit further and now start to turn. Sure, we can't challenge the ball, but we at least have momentum going and are now able to challenge the shots while also giving ourselves more space to react to the demo when we see it coming. Because all we need to do here to be successful is just get around this demo. And if we do, we now have a free clear out to the side of the field, and we all of a sudden have basically a 3v1 opportunity, although, as you might notice, our team is on very low boost because of the whole pressure from bumps and demos thing. But all we need to do here is widen out our rotation, time this a little bit better, so that we give ourselves more space to get around this, and that will then allow us to make a very easy save because we have momentum available to us. But instead, here, we cut way too sharply into net. We have our eyes glued on the ball that is bouncing off the ceiling, so we're not even paying attention to our opponent. So we lose that awareness, we lose our momentum, and we become very easy to bump out of the net in that kind of situation. So not a great first 30 seconds in terms of avoiding bumps and demos from our opponents. We certainly could be doing better. Moving down the field, kind of all on one side of the field with our team. And okay, so there's a couple things here that are going to lead to this demo happening. So first of all, as we move forward, as always, awareness needs to come in. I see one opponent, I see two opponents, which means the third is somewhere behind us, and we have no idea where they actually are. At this point, we are not playing this ball. We have two teammates moving up the field ahead of us, so this is not our responsibility. Our responsibility is maintaining our backline, and to do that, we need to know where that other opponent is. So at this point, we should be using our right stick to look around the field to identify where the threat behind us is to make sure we're able to avoid it. Now, what we'll actually see as we move down the field the rest of the way is our team gets into their corner, and it's actually going to be Waffle going out of his way to get behind our backline. That makes this whole play a possibility for them. And again, looking at our cam, we can see two players. One here, which means the other one is behind us somewhere. We need to be aware of this. Now, we do ourselves absolutely no favors in this play based on our original positioning, because why exactly are all three of us on the same side of the field? This kind of positioning does nothing for us, because unless the ball stays over here, which is highly unlikely with it being worked through the corner, this kind of positioning is just going to slow us down in terms of getting to the ball. So as this play moved forward here, we really should have adjusted our positioning to put ourselves in a better spot originally. So right here, as we spawn off of the demo that took us out, we need to recognize two players in front of us. Okay, let's head over this way, because from over here, we now have all of our bases covered. And now we could possibly even see Waffle go behind us, and now we're not going to be caught cutting all the way across the field. We're still going to need to be wary of him behind us, but we'll be able to attack this ball a lot faster if we're already over here, and we won't be on such a predetermined path, because when this ball cuts sideways, we pretty much only have one option, and it's just to track directly across the field to cover where the ball is going. But that makes it very easy for Waffle here, because when he sees us just going straight across the field, he no longer has to do any guesswork about where we're going. He can just drive in a straight line, intercept our path, and get the demo very, very easily. And once again, instead of us being able to develop an offensive opportunity from this position because we're able to keep this ball in their half, our last man gets taken off the field, and now it just leads to a free clear for our opponents. So all that comes down to awareness, positioning, and making sure that we put ourselves in the most effective spot possible to allow our team to be successful. As a final touch on this video, let's take a look at the psychological issues that being bumped and demoed this frequently can cause, and how it can lead to you just not making decisions and touches that are advantageous. So you get to see that we're kind of all flopping around here, and then we take a very subpar shot. So let's just look through this whole sequence, shall we? So first of all, talking about pace of movement, you can see that this ball is really not that threatening, as it's just sitting over here in the corner. Sure, someone's coming onto it, but we have not one, not two, but all three defenders kind of back at this point, so this really isn't that dangerous of an opportunity. But once again, instead of pacing our movement back towards the net and ensuring that we have multiple layers of defense set up, we instead are going to just rush back as fast as possible. And it's going to mean both myself and my teammate are in the net flat-footed, basically not moving at all. And it means that we are just flat out sitting ducks on the goal line, waiting to be bumped. So the ball is going to come around the corner. We can see my teammate does get the clear, and then he immediately gets bumped out of the play. And this kind of position right here is not a spot we want to find ourselves in. Because when this ball comes bouncing off the backboard, because we're sat here flat-footed, it's going to be very difficult for us to generate the momentum needed to get up to challenge this ball. And because we're constantly so worried about getting bumped and demoed, we're not even really focusing on how to make this read to ensure we get up to get the best touch we can. Instead, we just assume we're going to be under pressure, so we jump way earlier than we probably need to without generating any momentum along the ground, and it means that our jump just looks all kinds of terrible. And that's the big reason as to why momentum along the ground is so important, because it allows you to use less resources to get up into the air, and your jumps will look a lot less like that, because you will already have some forward momentum built up. Now, when we land, we're going to go ahead and jump up for this again, and this is where we see the panic mentality across our entire team. Because I jump up for this, and my teammate, just feeling like we got to get the ball out of our half because we just simply feel panicked, jumps in on us as well, therefore knocking us off the ball. And now, essentially, all three of us committed for this ball basically at the same time. We're all sitting right on this midfield line, and there's not a whole lot of direction in this play. And because we've all kind of committed on this one floating ball in the midfield, it means that when this ball goes towards the backboard, we really don't have any successful follow-up, because we've all used resources to attack that one ball that wasn't threatening really much at all. And because of that, we don't really have any teeth with this attack. And what we're going to see then is we finally see a possible opportunity to put a shot on target. And instead of reading like, look, there's going to be another defender coming back, this bump is not going to be good enough to net us a goal, and trying to pass the ball off the backboard to our teammate who's just gone for this mid boost, we just think so much of, oh my gosh, we finally have an opportunity to score, and we just try to take whatever shot we can. And again, because we lack awareness of where all the opponents are, we're not even considering that other rotation coming in from our opponents, and it means that this shot is completely worthless. We do nothing to put them under pressure, and they just get a free touch back out. So all of those decisions, all of those touches really come down to panic, and it's simply because we've been put in the mindset of, oh my gosh, we are under pressure. Oh my gosh, we're going to get bumped, we're going to get demoed, we're going to get taken off the field. So if we don't get this ball down the field and on target as fast as possible, however we possibly can, we're simply never going to find another opportunity. When in reality, when teams want to bump and demo, and when they're going for demos so often, if you are able to avoid them, you will often find counterattack opportunities over and over and over again, because your opponents are committing more resources upfield than are actually necessary. And when they expend those resources, be it boost, players, jumps, whatever they're doing in their attacks upfield, it means that they have less to work with as they're rotating back. And if two players are committing for a bump play, there's only going to be one player back for your entire team to take down. So just remember, if you come up against a team that wants to bump and demo you, the big keys to success are make sure that you maintain momentum around the field so that you can dodge the demos more easily. In that movement, make sure you do not get stuck in any situation where you're going to have to travel directly in a straight line, because it makes it very obvious for your opponents where you're going to end up. And when it's obvious where you're going to end up, they can demo you very easily. And this all comes down to being aware of where your opponents are. If at any point you can only see one or two players on your screen, if you are not the one actively playing the ball, you need to get your camera around the field to identify where these players are, to find out if you are in danger of being taken off the field or not. And above all else, the most important thing that you need to do is not panic. If you make panic decisions and panic touches, you simply play into what your opponents want you to do, and it just makes their playstyle even more effective, because you are now wasting your resources and your opportunities on the ball to make plays that are not even helpful for your team in the first place. So hopefully that gives you guys a good idea on what you can do to be more effective against this type of playstyle. And the more effective you become against this playstyle, the more effective you're going to be overall, because you will simply be improving your movement and your awareness, which are critical skills to ranking up in Rocket League. Of course, thank you everybody so much for watching. I really do appreciate each and every one of you who made it to this point in the video, and I do hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you did, make sure you click that subscribe button right down below, so you make sure you don't miss any future Rocket League content. Additionally, if you guys would like to be a bit more involved in the community we're building here, do feel free to check out my Discord, which will be linked down in the description. And as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. See you later, guys.